Welcome to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the Town of Barnstable. A podcast where you can meet the people who steward the programs and services for the Town of Barnstable that connects us to our quality of life. We invite you to join the conversation as we navigate municipal government and our community pathways to help you discover Barnstable.
Welcome to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the Town of Barnstable, where you can meet the people who steward the programs and services for the Town of Barnstable that connects us to our quality of life. The Town of Barnstable's mission is to protect the Town of Barnstable's quality of life and unique character, engage our citizens, and enact policies that respond to and anticipate the needs of our community. Our communication program has had a variety of tools in our toolbox, and this podcast is adding one more tool. We had actually wanted to start this podcast pre-pandemic. However, public health concerns delayed us just a little bit. I get great pleasure in introducing our Discover Barnstable tour guides. My name is Lynne Poyant, and I'm the Director of Communications. Liz Hartsgrove, our Licensing Director and Deputy Director of Asset Management, will be joining us, as will our Digital Content Manager, Paula Hersey. We invite you to join the conversation as we navigate municipal government and our community pathways to help you discover Barnstable. Liz?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. This is very exciting.
It is very exciting.
It is. So adding this to your ways of communicating and sharing what we do, why we do it, who does what, and how we work collaboratively inside and out is really is how listeners can expect what to learn, how it can help them, all of that good stuff. And this was really, as you said, a brainstorming thing a couple of years ago, and it just was, we hit the pause button, but now we're hitting the play button, and it's really exciting. So thank you. Paula and I really had a deep dive a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic hit, about a month before it actually hit. And so we had really thought that we want to introduce people to the team and all of these people that are really contributing towards the community and pushing it, not pushing it, but really moving it forward and moving that needle forward, just aligned with the strategic goals and the mission of the community. So Paula, who are we going to actually introduce as we move forward with this podcast?
There's an amazing amount of people in these buildings at Town Hall and across our town that are really wonderful stewards of the community. And they're not always the ones that you see on the front lines. So we're going to have our award-winning Director of Finance, Mark Milne, who makes math fun. And I'm saying that as like a person who really doesn't think math is fun. We're going to meet our town clerk, which is one of the positions in town that some may not know is an elected position in our town. We're going to meet consumer affairs officers. We're going to meet marine and environmental harbor masters and natural resources who really protect a lot of what we do outdoors. We'll be meeting some of the folks that have some of the history and also public health. There's so many different topics that we can touch. When we first started to do this, we started with an Excel spreadsheet saying, geez, who really should we talk to? And as we started, it was all of a sudden, the spreadsheet now is like 6 pages. The topics went from 8 topics, I think was what we started with. We now have probably close to 30 topics. Mm-hmm. And we're inviting the community as well to ask us if if there's some burning question in your mind about how town government works. That's what this podcast is really for. We're incredibly excited to just get started. This intro hopefully will set the tone. It's supposed to be hip and cool. Not everybody thinks town government is hip and cool, but we sitting in this room, we're hip and cool. So, Lynn, we just can't wait to get started, and we really are incredibly, I think, forethinking in using this as a new communications tool.
It really is very exciting, and I do want to say that we have a couple of magicians behind the scenes who are working with us. So our Channel 18 station manager, Sarah Beal, and our video specialist, Stone Dow, are running the controls to keep us on track. And the plan right now is to make sure that we have a program or a podcast drop once a week. And Paula, would you be able to provide our listeners with how they can access these podcasts?
Yeah, so podcasts, if folks don't generally understand how they work kind of like an Ann Landers column. They're distributed as something in a newspaper might be. So there would be multitude of places that you're going to find this. First of all, you'll find it on all of our social channels. We maintain a lot of digital content out there. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, we have an Instagram account, we have a YouTube channel. We also have a video on demand, which is found on our town website. So the podcast will be found in all of those social channels. We are using Anchor FM. So for those folks who use Spotify, Anchor FM is a subsidiary of them. So you'll find our podcast on Spotify. You'll find it on Apple Podcasts. You'll find it on Google Play. You'll find it on Amazon. And if there's a place that you want to find it and you can't find it, just shoot us an email at podcast@town.barnstable.ma.us.
Fantastic.
Liz, who is our first guest?
Thank you for asking that, because we are really excited to get really started with this whole introduction to Barnstable, and again, the back end of it. I agree, Lynn, thank you for introducing and letting people know that it's not just you, me, and Paula sitting here. We have Sarah and Stone doing the back end of it, and it's a real team effort. Well, that starts with actually our budgets, and we couldn't do this without the genius of our finance director, Mark Milne. And he is going to be our first guest for next week's episode on really Budget 101, Barnstable Budget 101, really. He's going to talk about the role of how it plays and impacts our community, and the decisions that elected and appointed officials actually impact or project the trajectory of the actual the budget, and how it's going to, for capital, whether it's the school budgets, whether it be enterprises such as the HYCC or golf or even the airport. And people don't realize how diverse and the little nuances that actually, the budgets really do support the services, from the adult community center to other, real life-changing, and as you mentioned, Lynn, real quality of life, and how does it really, Mark's going to be wonderful. I'm really excited, and he is award-winning, as you mentioned. He has just a number of accolades, and he's really put the Barnstable on the map for really how to actually balance a budget, and do, Standard & Poor's it looks to us as setting the bar for other communities. So I'm really excited to have him be our first guest, so thank you.
And I think that one of the things that Mark will talk about is the fact that budgeting is not just a one time of year activity, that the budget cycle is all year round. There are different components that need to be addressed to make sure that you're staying on track, that things are coded appropriately, and that you're not going to run into a deficit situation.
Correct. And then also, how does the public play a part of it? When is the opportunities for them to participate, and also look at those budgets on an ongoing basis? It's not a one-time deal for the public even to watch those and look at those budgets and how the spending, where the spending is, where the capital projects are, and the progress of each of those items. It's all online, and Mark makes it very transparent. So again, we are the trendsetters for that, really, for nationwide and even internationally. So I don't think people understand that, so I'm really excited to have him.
I think that people are going to find that the town of Barnstable has an awful lot that we're leading the way on, and this podcast is just one of the ways for them to find out how we are doing that. So again, we want to thank you very much for spending time with us and listening to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the Town of Barnstable. We hope that you will find a new understanding of how your municipal government works for you and our community. Be sure to drop us a line at podcast@town.barnstable.ma.us and let us know what you'd like to learn in upcoming episodes of this podcast. Thank you.
Until next week.
Until next week. Thanks.